Hi, welcome back. I'm Jeff Lewandowski.
I'm Brett Blackman.
Still, Brett Blackman. And this is the Merkle Institute. We're going to go ahead and do a quick video here. I promise it'll be a little quicker than the last ones, but something came up, and it hits close to home. And this is the article that I think was all over every major news publication.
I got hit 6-8 times by 9 a.m. yesterday morning.
So this is the article that says, Amazon, Berkshire Hathaway, and JPMorgan form a healthcare company, quote, free from profit-making incentives. And it's an interesting thing in that some of the richest people in the world are now talking about wanting to make sure that healthcare is profit-free. So the summation of the article says that the three companies, which are obviously massive, are working together to try to lower the cost of healthcare, which I think we all agree is a great solution.
Absolutely.
But it reminds me of the great Einstein quote that says, you can't solve a problem with the same mindset with which created it, or something to that effect. And what I read in the article was they're attacking the payer side, and they're talking about that aspect of it. But I think it's so much broader than that. And if you really want to, uphold Einstein's quote, you got to just stop thinking about it in the terms that are today. And that reminds me of what you are doing with HealthSplash and some of the things utilizing blockchain pertinent to this channel. So
I'm going to give you the best quote I've ever heard. Warren Buffett, Jamie Dimon, Jeff Bezos.
Jeff Bezos, yes.
You can't fix a suck system with a suck solution. Straight out of Jane Zane's mouth. I've heard that one. That's exactly what she told me.
That's great.
Absolutely. And what she basically said is, you were thinking in the same mindset that created the problem. So how in the world are you going to solve that problem? And why would you try to fix a suck system?
Yep.
Which is healthcare. So I read that article, sent it to you, said, what do you think? Because their intentions, I think, are okay. At least on the outside. I don't know what they are on the inside.
Right.
They're obviously brilliant businessmen. So you got
to get where they're at without being that way.
You got to take that as so. What they're saying is to the public is a grain of salt, because there's probably some underlying incentives for them, or relationships that they've got. Because if they truly are trying to do what they want to do, then they need to actually decentralize the entire thing.
Yeah.
And what they're doing right now, all they're going to do is create another big freaking silo.
Yeah.
Controlling all of the information, the practice, the solutions, which is basically saying, hey, we are better than you, smarter than you, to tell you what to do.
Yeah.
And I don't know if that's the right way to go about it.
And so if I'm going to try to bring the cost of something down, I'm going to call Jeff Bezos, because that man is amazing at bringing the cost of everything down. So if that's what you want to do, that's fine. The part about doing it without the profit motive, I'm a capitalist, and I believe that the best forms of anything have to do or are done in a capitalist environment. And I know that I get into debates about this, and people are like, well, what about the United States right now? I'm like, well, the United States is anything but a capitalist environment. Capitalist environment says you have an opportunity to take your own risk and make your own reward, or fail. And as we've seen since 2000, probably well before that, but Chrysler was bailed out in, was that the 80s or the 90s, somewhere in there. That was kind of the first piece that I recall seeing. And then you had the financial crisis, and it was bailed out the big banks, or the quote-unquote too big to fail. That is not capitalism. Capitalism is the ones that fail go away, new things come into play. So when I read comments like that, my antenna go up when I say, how are you going to get rid of a profit motive?
What was the last big banked project that came together with a few individuals that said they were going to go do something that wasn't supposed to make any money, because it had one focus? It was not going to be owned by the government. What was that?
Was that Bank of America?
No.
Was
Close.
that Citigroup?
No, getting there.
Was that the Third Federal Reserve Bank of the United States of America?
Maybe. They even called it the United States of America. Think about that, right? So you had. I don't know if you guys are familiar with Jekyll Island, and I'm not saying this is a Jekyll Island move. I don't know their motives, but maybe you create so, and I don't want to go into how that works, but you do realize that the Federal Reserve is owned by the largest banks that make billions of dollars a year off of the Federal Reserve, off of people. everyday people.
Yep.
And it wasn't supposed to be that in any way, shape, or form. That was not its function. So it always starts off with good intentions, and you put that much power in the control of just a few, and it will absolutely go the wrong way.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Which is why, for like our, let me tell you our system. So we're getting ready to meet with some government officials. It's a great opportunity for us. And I approached it this way, and I said, here's the deal. No one can own the system. That is how you succeed.
Yes.
Everyone owns the system.
By the people, for the people.
Built by the community, used by the community. And I said, the problem is you have companies like Cerner. Like, again, congratulations, Cerner and all the other major data centers opening up your healthcare records and moving them to the Apple Watch, to your Apple healthcare records. I think they announced it yesterday or 2 days ago. Pretty cool. Still not a good solution, because you have now Apple wanting to probably control and charge you for some of your stuff and use and everything else, and they can't do that. They'll find that out pretty quickly. That they don't actually own the data. The patient owns the data. It's the patient's data.
Yep.
Nobody wants to build on everybody else's system. So the government won't build on, United or Cerner. Cerner's not going to build on government. Nobody wants to play nice with one another. And for the first time ever with blockchain and utilizing what we call a DAO, a distributed or decentralized autonomous organization, we have the ability, and this is what we're doing at HealthSplash, to take that information, that network, and build what we call a web of trust. You plug in the Cerners, you plug in Apple, you plug in you, the patient, you plug in your physician and your chiropractors and your dentists and your hospitals. You plug everybody into the system. Everybody controls all of their own data. So if I'm Cerner or I'm Apple or I'm a hospital or a payer, I own my own data and the data that is being collected for my organization. But there's one difference. Every time it touches a patient, they get a copy of it. And at that point in time, if they choose to go from, say, Humana, United, to now Medicare, because I turned 65,
You're 65?
Yeah, I'm 65. I look really good,
look
right?
great.
Man, I'm telling you, it was a good birthday. But I can take my information and literally, I might have been with 3 or 4 different employers over the years. I might have had 4 or 5 different insurance groups over the years, and maybe 10 different physicians. But I get a copy of every single thing it does. And so when I move to Medicare, it gets all of my information because I delivered it to them. Because I want them to have it.
Right.
Yet, no one actually owns the system. It's not a HealthSplash system. It's just the people own it. And then you set up governance on the network to where, from upgrades to treasury, taxing, and so forth. Literally, the network actually becomes its own ecosystem, its own everything.
And truly capitalist, like we were talking about. So the way that you've got it set up, which I think is brilliant and I love it, is if you are a person who can code and you can create a smart contract and you can create a smart contract for a policy to run through, you can set your price, somebody else can do the same thing, and the market gets to choose which one of those run through. And by the way, nobody is ever going to be too big to fail. There will never be a HealthSplash bailout of a smart contract developer. Not. And
people
that's
ask, beautiful.
Well,
and we're going to break it down even easier. You don't have to know how to code.
Oh, really?
No. We have what's called our Foundry. You can actually look it on our roadmap. I think we just published it. We have what's called a Foundry, which will be for subject matter experts. And a subject matter expert is anything that you're an expert in or you think you're an expert in. Yeah. You can go out and create a workflow, and you can, if and then this. Best way I put it, ever heard of Zapier? It's a software. It allows you to mash up certain applications like Salesforce with your Google Calendars. Okay. And you can API it, and you don't even have to be a coder. I want this, and I want this, and boom, they work. Well, it's the same concept. People ask me all the time, what is our exit strategy? And I will tell you absolutely. Our exit strategy at HealthSplash is really simple. There will be a day where we no longer, in any way, shape, or form, control the network at all. And what I mean by that is even upgrading the network. The community will vote on an upgrade, which would include you, the patient, to the web of trust. And that upgrade would then happen. the only thing HealthSplash will do for a long period of time is what we call creating tools in our foundry. Basically tool sets that the community is using to continue to build things on the network. There will be a point in time where the network is so big and it's being completely utilized efficiently by the community that we actually establish a second foundry where the community actually starts building tools. And at that point in time, when those tools become more advanced than what we can do internally, if we don't do a good job, people will no longer use our tools and will not pay to use our tools. The community will use their own tools because they're better. And at that point in time, we're done. It still might be called the Splash Network.
Right. Unless the community gets together and says, you know what, I want to call it something else.
But we don't exist.
Yeah.
And the only way we stay in existence is if we continue to do a great job and the community allows us to continue to manage the network. But it's completely community driven. So when we're meeting with these large data networks and large healthcare institutions, that's exactly what they want. They want something where they can plug in, where they still control all of their own information, yet any patient can move their information to them or away from them based on the ability, and yet no one actually owns the network. And that's a major in the technology behind it. And that's absolutely completely industry changing in general.
And there is a inherent motivation, reward for these individuals, these groups of individuals doing all facets of it. So managing the network, writing the smart contracts, putting their mind share in, because they're getting a little piece of this. So it changes the field from, I have a very centralized organization. I have a board of directors, I have a CEO, I have my C-suite officers, COO, CFO, and so forth, and then the people down below with a structure to basically take all of that reward that's being generated through that effort and disseminate it out to everybody based upon contribution to the network and to healthcare in this case, which I can't tell you how much that speaks to me. I love that concept.
It flips everything we know today on its head, and everything that's been built on its head.
Yep.
But what's nice is we understand that it's not an ultimatum.
Yeah.
It's not you have to use us, and the old system's gone. That's not ever going to work. It's the old system can plug in, and they can still do things the way they want to do them for a while until they realize there may be a better way of doing it. I was talking to him again, and one of the really interesting things that is intriguing for payers is that when a new drug or a new procedure, when a new policy or compliance process is put in place at the top, right now it takes a lot of education, time, and everything else to get that down through the system.
Yep.
But with our technology, the moment that is established as fact and is integrated into the system, anybody that touches that protocol, instant interoperability, immediate to workflow. So there is no education. It's the next time the doctor opens up whatever that particular protocol is, it literally, they may not even realize it has changed. It's a follow along process.
Right.
So they instantly know. It's like basically if you had a book and you read it, and then you went back to it 6 months later and you went to read it again and it was a new edition. And you didn't even realize it was a new edition. That's the book. And that's the process that interoperability with tokens and then blockchain creates within compliance and workflows.
Well, this is awesome. I know this is the first time we've had an opportunity to touch on HealthSplash, and I know that it's an evolving process to get to a point where it's launched and available for the network. And I think we should keep giving updates to the community as we go. And I also know that you've got another obligation, so I also want to make sure we're cutting it a little bit short and getting you where you need to go.
Probably need to go pick up my daughter. I forgot about that.
So there you go.
I'm a great dad. Trust me, I tell everyone.
Well, once again, thank you for joining the Merkle video here and our discussion.
What was that again? Merkle what?
The Merkle video.
What is Merkle? What is Merkle?
It's a tree with the trust and the branches.
All right. Have a great day, everybody. Bye.